Hello, welcome back to the Mike Petke Coaches Show. I'm the greatest host in the entire world.
Oh my God.
Brian Dunseth, he is the best Major League Soccer coach in the state of Utah. Mike Petke, how are you, my man?
You are like Ron Burgundy.
I know, right?
You just read the teleprompter. They couldn't put anything.
Today was the first day I did not read anything on this teleprompter, and I'm super nervous. As soon as I saw that.
Oh, you heard the little stutter in your voice. You might not have heard it out there, but I heard it.
I was trying to project to hide it.
You're a good projector.
Okay. I don't really care to talk soccer ball today. I'm over it this week, and you know what I do when I want to do. So tonight, best and worst lists. I'm not giving you any more hints. Ready?
You haven't given me any hints yet.
No, I don't even know what the hints. I'm literally reading off the monitor. Okay. So good. What are your 3 favorite away trips in Major League Soccer?
Oh my gosh. Obviously, number 1 is to go back to
great state of New Jersey.
Great state of New Jersey. The New York Red Bulls in New Jersey. Yeah. Obviously, that's where my family and friends are. 100%. Second, go ahead.
Just because of the family? To go back there?
Ooh.
Are we talking about, like, think about this, hotel, proximity to the stadium.
I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there for sure.
Past history with said club.
I'm going to, of course, get there. But not only is it there because of my friends and family, but the supporters there who, I have a very good relationship with. It's always good to go back there.
They love you.
I don't know if they love me, but we have a mutual respect, which I appreciate.
By the way, I don't know if you guys watch this, but if you ever want to see something amazing, it's probably somewhere out there on the interwebs where they kind of had this down-home meeting for maybe a couple days after you left said club. And there were some fired-up people on the great state of New Jersey.
I have yet to watch that. I saw like a 30-second clip from something that, got sent to me, but I have yet to watch that. That's just, listen, they have done phenomenally since I left. Hats off to them, hats off to Jesse Marsh. But that just shows the passion that those fans have and the respect that they have. So love you guys in South Ward.
By the way, I did say to someone when they were taking part in that, just take it on the chin. Just wear it. Don't say anything back.
Don't say anything back.
All right. So what's the next best?
Vancouver.
Vancouver.
Love Vancouver. It's ironic that we were just there. Love the hotel.
Yeah.
It's, it's very different. I always get a balcony at my room in the hotel. And it's just the fresh air and everything, where in the U.S. there's very few hotels with balconies.
The double beds.
Yeah.
Sweet double beds with no balcony.
And also it's close proximity to the stadium, like you said.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful downtown. I just really enjoy there. We're right by the water. And my third, oh gosh, I would probably have to say that it would go to D.C.
Really?
Yes. And again, it's a selfish reason. It's close to New Jersey. I always have a large contingent going down there.
You like the smell of beer and raccoon pee at RFK Stadium?
RFK Stadium, to me, is an iconic venue.
I agree. I just want to wind you up.
I played there. I have history there.
You know what's crazy about RFK? Is that obviously the history of it, right? Yeah. But the other cool thing is, like, when you walk in there, there's such a unique smell, and I joke around about beer and raccoon pee. But then it's the heat and the humidity. It's the grass and the turf, how it smells, and then kind of that iconic D-C-Unite, and then the stand starts bouncing, and
the cockroach races in the bowels of the stadium. I mean, cockroaches everywhere. But hey, I won a championship there. I have great memories there. The Barra Brava were phenomenal to me.
You got to play with Freddie Adu?
Got to play with Freddie Adu, which I'm surprised against the Monarchs the other night. He didn't even make the travel list. Apparently there was some talk that he wasn't Mexican, because that team is, I mean, completely Mexican, -1 or 2. But I was looking forward to seeing him, and they pumped him up about that's a big draw for the Monarchs game.
Okay. So for me, going back to home to LA, obviously I get that because you're so close to the beach, and you can be on the water and grab a coffee, and then being at StubHub, Home Depot, whatever you want to call it, it's so cool to see a stadium there. But for me, it was more about kind of the Rose Bowl. So now I'm fascinated when we go to Bank of California Stadium and what we saw the other day against Seattle. Worst place to go for me, Houston.
Oh, gosh.
Too long of a drive from the airport.
Any of the Texas trips, to be honest with you, because of the heat as well. And it's just, for as well as Dallas has done over the years, and even this year, remaining one of the last teams, have they lost yet? Or
they lost last week.
Okay, so they were the last unbeaten team. And to see a lot of that crowd, it blows my mind. And see what's happening in Seattle, Atlanta, majority of teams, attendance going crazy. To see a historic team that has done very well with the attendance there, I would have to put Dallas and Houston on my map as well.
You know, I would also add maybe San Jose, but I would use the emoji kind of like,
That's pretty good.
It's easy to get in and out of.
Yeah.
But all right, top 3 best players you have either coached, played with, or played against.
Oh gosh, Thierry Henry, top of the heap.
Top of the heap.
I mean, for those who did not appreciate what he did and what he bought, I got to see him on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And he's a genius.
It's incredible.
He's a genius. Like, there's no other way to describe it. It was phenomenal. It was at times the worst part of my career, because he's so passionate and he's so opinionated, and he's Thierry Henry.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, as my first coaching gig, to have somebody like that on the team, it was ridiculous.
So how do you find that line, really quick? Because I've always wanted to ask you this. How do you find that line with a guy that has so much experience, right? From Monaco to Juve to Arsenal to Barcelona to the New York Red Bulls. And it's not just the talent, right? It's the knowledge. It's what he's accumulated over the years. So how do you find that line of being his manager and having an honest and open conversation with him, but then also recognizing that the squad around him, it's not a big step down, but the talent level is not nearly the same as what it was previous.
Well, with somebody like him, it was almost to the point that you had to teach the other 20 or coach the other 24 players, 25 players, how to play with him, as opposed to taking one person and putting him in a system that you're trying to play. And that was the reality of it. And at the end of the day, we won a trophy, a pretty big trophy.
Yeah.
So everything worked out good. But it was just amazing to sit around, not the stuff on the field, to sit around in my office, sit around for a cup of coffee on the road with him, hear his experiences, have him tell me stories about Pep Guardiola. And not, I'm not saying give me advice, but I was a first-year coach, to collaborate with him almost, and that's important to know that, yes, he's a player for you, you're the coach, you have to set the tone, but you can't have it big enough, you can't have an ego enough that you can't realize, okay, there's something in this person, where he's been, what he's been through, what he's won, that you could not only learn from, but you could take some sort of collaborative effort with, you know? And we got to that point 3/4 of the way through the year, and then through the next year, and it was phenomenal.
You've referenced this before, and I'm just going to kind of use this reference as a really, it becomes kind of a transformative moment, I would imagine, in your coaching career, where you have to make a decision to bench a guy like Thierry Henry, that you have to draw a line in the sand. He took it really well. And I remember watching the next game after hearing about the situation and being like, I wonder how he's going to react. And he was sitting there and he was applauding, he was getting up, and he was emotionally invested in it. And in my mind, I'm thinking, there's now a level of respect. And not just a level of respect between you and he, but a level of respect for him and his teammates. That it is very much individual performances and I don't know, awards and all that, but at the same time, it's a collaborative effort.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've come to realize shortly after that, but not right away in the moment. I had a hint of an idea, because Thierry doesn't do anything that's not calculating, and that's not a disrespect thing. It's a smart thing, Everything in his life,
he's aware.
He's aware of, exactly. He's aware of, and he has an ending to it that he needs to, he wants to happen for the better of him, for the better of the team, I guess, in this situation. So there's a large thing to be said that he prompted that whole thing. It was very calculated, and it had a very good end result. It got to the point that Thierry was like, something needs to happen, and I'm going to make it happen. And I know Mike's a passionate guy, and Mike's not going to take any crap above a certain level, and he stepped over that level, and he instigated it, and it went down. But we had a talk 15 minutes after. I remember walking into the locker room after I kicked him out of practice. I remember turning to everybody else, says, anybody else have something to say? And everybody was like this. The effect that it had, to the point that it was only 30 minutes into training, and we only trained for 10 more minutes, because my assistant coach, Robin, at the time, he came to me and he said, Mike, you might want to stop training now. I go, why? He said, because that was the best 10 minutes of practice we've ever had.
Yeah.
Let's end on a high note, because of what happened.
Yeah.
And I remember walking back in knowing that we're going to have a conversation, and literally walking in figuratively in my mind like this, ready to, I don't know what's going to be waiting me on the other side of that, but I'm ready for anything. And he was sitting there, and right away we just got into a very casual conversation. He said, Mike, I'm sorry you had to come to that, you know, but blah, blah, blah. And we had about an hour and a half conversation. And then you saw us the next day, he was clapping, like you said, and he went in at halftime, and he played an instrumental part in that win. And then we kind of went on thing. And it's not because I had a fight with Thierry. A lot of people think that. When the shift happened for that team and when you went on to win a Supporters' Shield was that moment. Now, that could be, but it wasn't that I'm a genius and made that happen. Not at all. It just it was a circumstance.
Well, and I guess to kind of build upon your point, that moment here for RSL was last year, and you get the win in LA, then you have the break, and having that performance for the starters against Manchester United, all of a sudden, that starts to propel you, knowing that there's an inline, coming up in the future.
Well, thank God it didn't happen around a fight with a player last year, and we're still waiting for that moment again this year. But listen.
It can happen in different ways.
It can happen in different ways, you know? I mean, you have to learn how to deal with people differently. You have to learn what pushes, you know, certain buttons to push. But at the end of the day, and by the way, you asked me about 3 players. We're still on the first one.
No, I'm about to transition to you.
No, listen, at the end of the day, I have a lot of respect for every player that plays for me, but obviously there's players that garner, you know, not more respect, but more leeway and more rope.
What about favorite player you played with? Who was like the most instrumental player in the career of a young Mike Petke?
Wow. A lot of people might not, depending on how they feel about this person. He's a very big figure, but Alexi Lalas had an incredible impact on me my rookie year.
You know, I was roommates with him my rookie year.
Where?
In 97, New England Revolution.
New England.
Yeah.
You were 90. Oh, you're younger than me, but you started in the league.
Yeah.
Before you were Project
40. Yeah.
Project 40.
It's when your maths aren't that good in school, and you realize really quickly
I only have one round.
You haven't declared a major, and you're like, oh, who wants to go pro? And you're like, I do.
I do.
Yeah, that's me.
I'll sign anything.
Oh yeah.
No,
24,000 a year is what I signed.
Alexi Lalas was completely instrumental in everything that year, from on the field, the advice, to off the field, how to handle yourself. A lot of people might not know this, but how humble he is.
Oh, it's incredible.
Really, could I tell a really quick story?
Yeah.
It's my show. Why am I asking you?
I'm just the guy who helps fly the plane.
So maybe like 2 months into my rookie year with the Metro Stars, he invites me out for a beer. We go in Hoboken to the 8th Street Tavern, never forget it. We're sitting outside, and I'm sitting there on the way there, you know? Some weird reason I'm putting cologne on, you know? Like I'm going on a date or something. I'm just like, oh my God, Alexi Lalas invited me out, blah, blah, blah.
He's got his Guinness.
Yeah, of course. So we're sitting there and we're talking, we end up talking for maybe it's like 8 o'clock at night for another 2.5 hours. All of a sudden, a black limo pulls up outside, and he very casually finishes his beer, looks at his watch, puts it down, leaves some money, and he goes, I'll see you at training tomorrow. And he just gone like, you know, like the wind. Jumps in the limo, gone. I get home, I lived in Long Island at that time. Drove across the river, about 45 minutes later, I get home, I lived with my brother who was a cop at the time, in Valley Stream. And I walk in and he goes, hey, first thing he says, he goes, did you say you were going out with Alexi Lalas? I said, yeah. And he points to the TV, he's on Letterman. Lexi was on Letterman. It was right after or before the 98 World Cup.
Yeah, it would have been right.
It was either after or before. Anyway, to me, that was the most impactful thing. He could have said, you know, I got to go do Letterman right now. Just, no.
Won't talk about it,
No. Hey, it was great. Gave me advice for 2.5 hours, had a great thing. To me, that was unbelievable. And then there was a lot more after that, but that was the one pinpoint I could put on that I literally sat there and I said, this guy is, you know, he's awesome.
He always took care of me.
Oh,
always.
Yeah.
By the way,
and a lot of people don't realize that.
No, because he's so good at what he does on Twitter and on television, and he's so much more intelligent than people give him credit for, that if you take his point of view, if you take what he's going to say first, he'll flip it and argue, even though he doesn't believe it, that he'll argue the point back because it's great television.
It's great television, yeah.
Who did you hate as a player? I know you would amp yourself up, but if you could pick any guy in the league that you played against, I feel like there's a Mamadou Diallo.
There's so many.
But who's the one guy, like, if you just looked at him...
Hate's a strong word. All right.
That you could amp yourself up to the point where hate was a strong word, but it fit.
Well, I mean, you look at guys like Landon Donovan. Landon's a great guy, so that's why I'm saying hate. But you had to get up and almost kind of say bad things about in your mind.
Yeah.
Because if you're not at the top of your game when he was in his prime, you know, Jaime Moreno, Marco Etcher, Ante Razov, which would get under your skin.
Oh, yeah.
All guys I do not hate whatsoever, you know? Cordial, you know, I see them, we vary from friends to, hey, how you doing, talking a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, but you had to almost build yourself up to that, you know? And Eddie Johnson was one as well.
Yeah.
Eddie Johnson.
He could get on it because he talked.
Eddie
was always chirping.
He would talk for 89 minutes, and then all of a sudden he's scoring the 91st, and you'd go home crying saying he got the better of me, even though you shut him down for 89 minutes.
Yep.
Roy Lassiter.
Oh, the dog.
Ryan Dunseth.
The dog.
You know, I used to mark him on corner kicks. He was annoying. Always smelled good.
Smelled delicious.
Yeah, always smelled delicious.
Mamadou Diallo.
Oh, I mean, we covered that last thing. That's somebody in the moment when everything went down, I legitimately hated.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
And I was young and I was naive. So, again, I don't throw that word out easily. You know, you shouldn't hate anybody.
Yeah.
But what happened with Mike Amon when he stomped on him and the reaction afterwards, and then he got a red card the next game we played because he tackled me from behind.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was ridiculous. But then he came and played in New York, and we kind of buried the hatchet somewhat.
Oh, okay.
Somewhat.
See, quick story for Taylor Twellman. I got him his debut in MLS because in Columbus, we were playing the New England Revolution, and Mamadou elbowed me off the ball. And I lit him up. I purposely did not block his shot so I could go through his ankle.
And you got a red card?
No, stayed on the field.
Wow.
Yeah, no video review.
So Mamadou went down, and then Taylor Twellman comes in.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
so he owes you some sort of royalties.
In my mind, Taylor said thank you.
Perhaps if it wasn't for that moment, he would not have gone on to the career he had, not gone on to ESPN and stuff. So he might owe you something.
Yeah. No, it's a good job.
You could trace that back. In this day and age, you could sue for anything, so you can.
That's a good point. You know who else I hated? Remember Welton? Remember the Brazilian kid?
I didn't really have many run-ins with him, but I remember.
Oh, he broke my nose twice.
Twice?
Twice. Got me pop. And one was right after the game, we had to go to the airport, and we flew a red-eye back, and they put the 2 rods up my nose and popped it back in.
They gave you one of these?
Oh, man, it was horrible.
And have you ever gotten revenge on him in a game?
No, he's too quick. I kept him missing.
Yeah.
I couldn't say. All right, so top 3 things you would change if you had ultimate power to do whatever you wanted in Major League Soccer.
Oh, my gosh. One would be charter planes.
Yeah, that's the easiest, right? Charter plane with internet capabilities.
Well, see, now you're a little snobby. You're a little snobbier than I am.
I just want to be on the. I just want high-end internet.
I just want to get to the airport, get right on the plane, have my players have a relaxing seat, and get home right away.
Don't want to sit there for an hour.
Yeah, not go to Orlando this weekend like we are, playing a 3 o'clock game and have to come back the next day at 12 noon. Meanwhile, you know, because there's no flights back to Salt Lake at that time.
Yeah.
You know, and then we're playing the following, you know, all that stuff. That would certainly be
Remember
number
Montreal
one.
when we did take the charter back from
Montreal.
Thank you for letting me jump on the charter back. And then when we went through security, because that scanning machine broke, they had to like hand dig through everybody's bags. That was awkward.
Well, one of the first, I think it was the first or second day that I got the job last year. Yeah. 2 people came to me and said, all right, this is the first or second day. They said, we have to have a meeting with Deloitte. And I'm like, what? What for? You have to ask for a charter back from Montreal. And I'm, what are you talking about? Well, you're new, so he likes you.
Yeah.
And
you got the best in.
That's going to take us from Montreal to Atlanta for a 4-hour layover, back to Salt Lake, and we're playing 3 days later.
Yeah.
So I walked in there, and I never forget, they said, just get a list of why it makes sense. And I had this list this big. And I never forget, I got to the second line of the huge list. And Deloitte says, so you want to charter back from Montreal because it makes sense, blah, 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 blah. Done. And I kept reading because I was so nervous. And Rob, the guy who worked there, turns to me and goes, shut up, you already got the charter. Yeah. I'm like, but I got this whole list I worked all night on.
Yeah. Thank God you had big handwriting.
Yeah.
Throughout it.
Well, that was only one.
Okay, so
but if you got another one?
No, I would say that. I would say a more competitive level of free agency. And I know everyone's going to say kind of East Coast pros and cons are going to be, well, the East and West Coast teams are going to be significantly better because they're big city. And what happens to the likes of Real Salt Lake or Kansas City, you know, some of the smaller cities, it's going to be a tougher sell. And I get all that, but I don't know. I remember back in the day when I had to go to Sweden, it was because my rights weren't tradable. The club didn't want to trade me for anything worse or less than a first-round draft pick. And here I was, and I didn't do anything wrong.
No, I agree.
Why are you holding on to my rights? So the idea of if you're released, if your contract's coming to an end, if your option's not picking up, I know it's getting closer, but you don't have to be a long-term employee.
A 36-year-old.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying.
You know,
because that's number 3 on my list.
Okay, sorry. What's number 2?
No, it really is. Because I agree with you. You know, I mean, the list of free agents that come out, they have to hit so many criteria.
Yeah.
You know, it should be a lot less. Yeah, there should be a lot larger field for me of free agents.
Yeah.
You know, and then it goes to the owner. You know, what are they willing to spend? What are they willing to outbid for? 100%. And that could make smaller markets be more competitive.
Okay, what's your number 2?
Number 2 is very selfish.
Okay.
I know when I was a player, and now the players now, the negotiation, the collective bargaining agreement for their per diem on the road is pretty damn good for the players. I would like the coaches per diem to raise a little bit. Right?
You want the escalation of...
I want the escalation as a coach, and I'll tell you why, okay? When we go to big cities, okay, I'm the head coach, so obviously I make more than assistant coach. I make more than the second assistant, third, the equipment manager, all this stuff. So when we're in New York or LA, you know, I want to go to a nice dinner.
Yeah, and you don't.
You know, and I want them to be able to feel good to go to it, you know, and not say, oh, I got to go because of the boss and I'm reaching into my pocket for this and that. You know, I would like a league mandate that coaches per diem is on par with and that's a bit of a joke, but I'm serious. That's what I want.
I like it.
That's what I want.
So what I would like to see is for teams that have USL components, like Real Salt Lake has Real Monarchs.
Yeah.
I want to see a more fluid sharing of players. Now, I know that you can send players down.
Wow, you went all serious here. Well, really good points.
If I'm going to be, I'm really good with other. Wait till you hear my number 3. I'm really good with other people's money. We talked about this in Vancouver. But like Chandler Hoffman and Sebastian Velasquez last year being ineligible to play against Manchester United.
That was ridiculous.
It's ridiculous because all of a sudden they're 26 years of age and they've passed the threshold. If we want to start competing, you know, I'm okay with roster size. I get all of that. But having more shareable assets of players coming back and forth.
Well, are you suggesting perhaps during the season as well? Like as in Europe, I could bring up a Monarchs player?
100%.
I agree with you.
100%.
I agree with you. But then you also have to look in, let me ask you this. USL and MLS, completely separate entities. Do they work together? Is everything, because you would have to increase perhaps the USL salary cap as well.
Yeah. No,
if I'm able to have 20 more players playing on the USL that I could just pull up whenever I want because they've earned it, you're looking at a second MLS.
So what if we rearrange the bonus structure? Because that goes into my number 3.
Bonus structure. Well, bonus structure has always been everybody's. That's
this is the bone that I have to pick with Major League Soccer over the years. Is that, you know, we reward these young players with a good amount of money.
Yeah.
All of these young players that are signing now, for the most part, if they're pretty high level, young, aspiring, good difference-making player, they're probably making a couple $100,000. Yeah. I would rather see the ability for bonus structure to come into play, where if you make the 18-man roster, you get a certain amount of money.
Of course.
If you're a substitute that steps on the field, you get a certain amount of money.
If you're
escalating.
Starter.
If you're a starter, it's escalating.
If you win the game.
And then imagine us 2 young players sitting there, and I walk into my locker, and there's a check, and I open up my check, and I don't know, it's like $25,000.
Yep.
And you haven't played a single minute.
What's that going to do for you?
Well, not only that, you think about, oh man, I'm sick. You know what, my ankle's kind of sore.
Yeah.
It changes the psychology of a young player or even an established player where they're saying, that money, that's going to pay my mortgage. I'm going to be able to put that away. That's going to pay my car payment. I'm going to be able to save.
Yeah.
I think it speeds up the accountability process. And I think ultimately it's a weird revenue driver, but at the same time, the responsibility of the player then changes because his psychology is, there's money I'm leaving on the table.
I remember 2009 when we almost went on strike. No, 2010, almost went on strike the league because the collective bargaining was over. And I remember in the locker room, a large majority of the players to our rep was talking about the bonus structure.
Yeah.
Because I know, like you said, if I'm getting $2,500, let's just throw a number out there for making the 18-man. If I'm getting another $2,500 for getting in the game and another this much for starting the game, let me tell you something. I'm gonna be messy throughout the week.
It happens all over the world. That's what people don't realize.
That's what you need, of course. And it's going to raise the level.
And people see kind of the pay packets that everyone's, he's on 400 grand a week, or he's on, 85 grand a week. But what they don't realize is all of the bonus money that they're being made, and then the multiple competitions, Champions League, Europa League, it all makes a little bit different. It's all different. And it's a motivating factor. It's a simplistic way of holding younger anyone a little bit more accountable.
Well, I will say this though, on a side note, that if I was making anywhere near $85,000 a week, I wouldn't care about the bonus structure. Only from a competitive standpoint, I would. Yeah. Only from a competitive standpoint, I would. But I think it would go such a long way in a league like this.
Yeah.
Where the money has gotten great and it's getting better. Great's a strong word, but it's gotten very good. But to have that competitive edge for your roster, it would be a dream for a coach.
I know that we, as younger players in this league back in the day, would look at guys and be like, he's making what?
Yeah.
He's making $100,000?
My God. I remember thinking, during my halfway through my career, remembering if I made $100,000,
6 figures.
I am set.
Yeah.
That is the pinnacle for me. I remember winning the championship with DC, the only championship I won in the player. I think my bonus at the end of the year, when it's split up, you turn it for everybody, I'm thinking $1,100. I'm thinking that might be high end. There was a lot of years that my bonus at the end of the year, after 30-something games and everything, was, I don't know, $250.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and if you make that more, like you're saying, it just drives competitiveness up and it raises the level.
So the last thing, ultimate, safe standing in the North Zone. I was pitching you this in Vancouver.
And you sent me the picture.
And I was texting him for LAFC at the new stadium, Bank of California Stadium. For me, I know one of the big things we're always talking about is supporter culture. How does everyone kind of come together and create this organic relationship? Well, it's pretty obviously it's not happening. It's a fractured fan base in terms of groups, and they haven't figured out for one way or another. South End does a fantastic job, but it's still kind of splintered. Yeah. You have a little bit of North Side, 26. You have Brandon's area. It's all kind of broken apart. But I was pitching with Deloy's money this side, talking about North Stand in between the corner flags, taking it all the way up, building all of the high-end suites all the way around, and kind of making it steeper. So I didn't send this to you, but in Bundesliga, something that's interesting, something that people haven't been paying attention, 30% of the stadium capacities in every Bundesliga stadium is safe standing.
Wow,
30%.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. The highest ticket is €10. So you think about that, the generational environment now that's being created, standing room only, cheaper ticket, more people inside of the stadium, which inevitably is the trickle-down dynamics of money being spent. Yeah. What that atmosphere creates. And so we'll be in Orlando this weekend, safe standing. Yep. When we go later, LAFC. So I'm just going to need your help. Yeah, I'm good at spending other people's money.
You might have lost me when I go to the ownership about $10 a ticket. You might have lost me there. I don't know if I want to walk in with that.
There,
I'm walking with tight more. You want more?
More, please. Well, that's it for tonight's episode. I think it definitely falls in the top 3 all time of the Mike Petke.
So you're reading off a teleprompter there. Yeah. Do you really feel it's top 3 all time?
No.
No, I don't either. No. But
we can do better.
We read it.
Yeah. So we'll see you Sunday in Orlando City, and again next week here. Bye, Tyler. Good stuff today.
Take care, guys.